Welcome. Bienvenue. Yes, it's a celebration.
I'm having a bit of a mad dash because my Wi-Fi has just crashed at home.
That's all right. You're doing fine. I tell you what, just so everybody knows, Vicky and I have been business associates for a number of years. Before that, we were sort of intermittent friends. We met through a BNI, if anybody knows what that is, a billion years ago. How many years ago? 12, 11? I can't remember what we're talking about. It's a lot.
It's 2011. So,
wow.
Yeah, 13 years ago in June.
Wow. 13 years ago, we met upstairs at a patisserie Valerie.
Yes.
I witnessed her go through trials and tribulations within mostly trials, but which she used to succeed through, often to the consternation of her male companions. Top saleswoman at a communications company, came through that, met someone, had children, took some time out and decided to reinvent herself as a communications coach, especially helping people communicate more effectively. And then suddenly realized, I don't know why it took you so long to realize, that a skill that you'd fostered during all that time working for other people, thank you, Hazel, would actually come to be in so many ways the very thing that has defined, yes, folks, her first year as Tender Response. Tender Response is one. Hurrah!
Round of applause to Tender Response. And thank you to everyone who has supported us over the last year. I worked as a freelancer before I incorporated my own business. And of course, I can say this because it's my own business. But when you win a contract, win public sector, that there's a process. You can't shout about it on like Facebook, LinkedIn, do your press release. You can't do it in the same way. So I thought we'd bring the two sides together, where it's the celebrating a Tender Response, becoming one. We are one. Well, we were one 2 days ago. I've already eaten all the cake. Sorry, guys. I know.
It didn't save me even a crumb. But I'll tell you what, though. Let's go back to when you first thought of starting Tender Response. What was the switch that flipped in your head that made you think, hang on a moment, I've got a skill that people actually need?
I was asked by a friend of mine if I could write a 2,500 words proposal about their approach to project management for fitting new boilers in homes, and they were going for a housing association tender, and they didn't know where to go. They'd approached some of the bigger agencies, and the bigger agencies wanted tens of thousands as a response.
They will.
And then they wanted commission.
Yeah.
And he couldn't afford it. So he asked me very nicely if I could do the response for him. And I hummed and hawed, and eventually he twisted my arm over a beer and a curry. And I said yes. And he wasn't successful in winning that tender, unfortunately. But I just thought, you know what? I wonder how many other people are interested in looking at this. So I made a few inquiries, and before I knew it, I had too much work to actually pursue my coaching practice. So I wrapped up my programs and I started pursuing Tender Response, and that was it.
So give me a timeline on when it moved from being the kernel of an idea through to actually doing this. I mean, it should be said the first one was unsuccessful, but as far as I know, you are at approximately 80% success rate on getting.
We're not in the high 70s at the moment. We've got a lot of stuff outstanding.
Right.
So we are on. We've submitted 83 bids between January the 1st and now.
So some of you may know that I work very closely with Vicky to help her promote herself, and we've worked very much in creating posts and getting people interested. And one day she said to me, "It's all very well, all getting this post out, and people now know roughly what I do. It's easy for me to answer, but I need leads. And I need them to convert. And she had, I think, 2 or 3 on the go, and very little else in the pipeline. Now, I mean, not all of it down to my own efforts, but through combined efforts and your own efforts and all the rest of it and everything else, and the universe listening, we've now, what we're talking about, oh my God, you've got a full board of
Oh Lord.
absolutely, and barely time to think. And on top of that, I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, it should be said that she's decided to delve into local politics.
Yes, in the moments where I had free time, this thing that parents have
What
when
was
they can
that
go
free
to the
time?
toilet unaccompanied.
First of
Free
all,
time,
most
I don't
parents,
know. I don't know. I have two
most
young
parents
children.
don't have free time anyway. So what possessed you to do this?
I don't know. Maybe I filled my paperwork in wrong. I don't know. No, in all honesty, local politics was an interesting piece. The previous administration was largely Tory. We had a bit of a land grab that was going on. Yeah, boo, Tories. She says wearing blue, but never mind. And we were going for a bit of a land grab. And the area that I'm in had two Lib Dem councillors of like many years of old. They've been here for like since the 1800s,
Right.
and one Tory guy. And it was let's put your name on the ballot and let's just see what happens. And you know what? In the space of an hour, I went from being a normal person to being an elected person. It's crazy.
Nuts. Yeah, but there was a bit of work in between. Let's not.
Yeah, there was work. Don't get me wrong. There's work, and there's still work now. But it's about educating the people on processes, helping them get the support that they need, and literally just giving back. It's great.
Understanding what goes on behind the scenes, because let's face it, your whole business is about local authority and public sector tendering.
Yes.
And now you're seeing the crap that happens that most people don't see behind the scenes, right?
I'm not entirely sure how to use the word crap, Gareth, but yes, you know what?
Stuff.
I do get to see a lot of work
behind
stuff. Yeah, we do get to see a lot of work behind the scenes. And, whilst I can't say for definite that my being a councillor is going to significantly be advantageous to my business, because every council works differently, it's always nice to appreciate what goes on and the processes and the governance. And it's like last night we were at full council meeting. I didn't get home till gone 11 o'clock at night. And we passed motions yesterday oh my God, there were so many motions about pets still being, like goldfish still being sold as pets or given away as pets, and what we're going to do differently. And there was another forum on, and I'm going to get this wrong, and Heather Codling's going to kill me because I've worked with her on it, about people who have experienced the care system,
right,
and requesting that people view their experiences as a protected characteristic, because they do need additional support in a lot of instances. They are more likely to experience mental health and issues and health issues, and employers need to bear that in mind, and they need to be respectful and considerate. And we passed motions yesterday, so we are actually making change happen, which is incredible.
I don't think it's going to be. It'll be advantageous for your business only because you'll appreciate better the machinations that go on behind the scenes once a tender's been accepted, because you see how it does or doesn't play out.
Well, I saw that already when I worked in corporate, because the amount of things that you'd have to do once you've won a bid to get it over the line, and once the tender production has stopped, that's usually where a lot of agencies stop helping, because we only do the written response is usually the stock answer. So yeah, for me as well, it's in a very similar boat, but at the same time, there's a lot that we offer guidance on. So one of our clients, he is on 2 frameworks,
right,
and he has to submit standard documentation to be on those frameworks and to maintain his place on those frameworks. And he didn't know what to do to set up the templates, so we helped them with that. So we are very sensible.
Yeah, but also because I think, unlike so many companies that do similar kind of work to you view clients as an ongoing relationship rather than just a one-hit wonder. And
correct.
I think that's because of your sales corporate background, that you build relationships. It's not a wham bam thank you ma'am. It's much more about building the relationships to lead to potentially future more tenders, even helping them with existing tenders. I think all of that goes towards having a more familial, dare I say it, familial relationship with a client, and that fosters trust and belief. It means that they're far more likely to also recommend you and your processes because of it. Rather than you taking them to the line and okay, ta-da, chum. It's much more about that. What I wanted to visit or revisit was the moment it moved from being, well, we're almost there, but it's not really. It's okay. It was almost to the moment it suddenly became, this is now a business.
Oh my God. So you're really going back to like March last year. I've slept since then, Gareth, just once or twice. But it moved from being just me to an incorporated business when I realized that I needed to start bringing in experts because I didn't want to be marking my own homework. So the difference between a bid writer and an agency is that the agency will have multiple writers so that the content is scrutinized.
Right.
And the second I asked someone else to read my content, they were contracting for me. So I was no longer a sole trader. And it was well, if I'm going to be able to give the best possible response to my clients, something needs to shift and something needs to change. So I incorporated, I sent off the paperwork in mid-March last year, and that was all done on March 25th, I think it was, if I remember correctly.
But then that's rather lovely, isn't it? I think that's rather lovely. I think we need to remember where we've come from to I'm not saying, as a great man once said, it's all very well looking backwards, but I wouldn't want to live in the past.
No.
Facing the future.
Yes.
So that's the
absolutely.
next question. What lies ahead in the short term? Let's say by the end of this year for tender response. Where's your bow pointing?
Wow, that's a question. So my wellness officer is making sure that I book in time for me. Too right indeed. So where's it going? I've already been asked by several agencies whether or not we'll be doing some bid training. So we're working on a training program to help small companies understand proposals, navigate understand proposals, what you need to put in them, the importance of having stock text, how to get contract references, and all of the stuff that we do. But if somebody wants to do it themselves or they have an admin, give it to them in bite-sized chunks. So we're looking at a forum to be able to do that. And we're looking at a lot of e-learning so that you get the platform, you log in, and then it's all there, and you can go back and refresh at your own pace. And I've also been asked to look at procurements. So how would tender response help housing associations and councils or whoever needed the support to run a procurement effectively? Because even to run a simple procurement, it's going to cost the council resources and time. And of course, the second that you have officers who have to put time into something, there's a pound sign associated.
Of course, as ever.
So then if it's cheaper to outsource, you find a lot of people do that. So there are a lot of procurement consultants out there at the moment, and a lot of their documentation has been, well, I'm going to be honest, I do enjoy ripping it apart.
Vicky, that's not a good or kind streak in you,
It's very important to actually look through and assess the documentation, because if there are ambiguities in the documentation, what are you responding to? Well, if I want this, but the documentation says that, well, it means that if I'm compliant with this, then you're never going to get what you want. But if I'm compliant with this, then my documentation's wrong. So it has to be succinct. It has to be, you have to know what you're responding to. And there are several tenders or supplier qualifications where I've challenged because they want references within three driven miles of the site. So you either need to, so you have a site and then you have a circumference of like 3 miles, and you have to have existing contract references, not 1, not 2, but 3.
Yeah, but I can think of a million different times when that's not going to happen.
Exactly.
Yet the supplier is perfectly valid.
Well, exactly. So I enjoy challenging them and kind of pointing out to people that the scoring matrix and the weightings that they've aligned make it non-viable for anyone who's not the incumbent.
Well, look,
and I do this to try and educate. And some of the procurements go through because there are other. I mean, if you were to look at Reading as an example, so if you take Reading City, well, it's not a city, but that's a different story. If you take Reading as an example, I'm sure Gareth will be back in a second after he picks up his pen. There's quite a lot of businesses in a very condensed area. Whereas if you were to look at somewhere like West Berkshire, where I'm elected to, if anyone's interested, it's a rather long and thin district.
right.
So I'm in Burfield Common, which is very much towards the east. I'm 20 minutes away from Reading, and I'm 45 minutes away from Newbury, which is like the main town in West Berkshire. If you've got a contract in Newbury, you're probably going to have another one. But again, West Berkshire contract, you got to have a look at the distances. So by bringing it together and being fairer and more equal, then more suppliers are able to respond more competitively, which means the procurer, the council, the housing association, whoever is more likely to get what they want, a supplier who's local, a cost price that fits, and happier deliverables of service. So then everybody's happy. So I'm just trying to challenge the norm, right, left, and centre. Typical Liberal Democrat all the way through.
Not sure I entirely agree with that, but yeah, I've been on and off a member of the Liberal Democrat Party for a number of years, tens of years, and I would say Liberal Democrats now is quite a different animal than it was 10 years ago.
Yes, I agree with that statement very much.
Okay. But probably a better animal now. But back then it was good, Anyway, moving swiftly on. Okay, I need to wind this up. I just wanted to say it's been. It sounds like it's saying it's an honor. It's sounding a bit overly pompous, but it has been in a way. Vicky and I were never friends when we started. We were business associates, but through business, we became friends. And a lot of that is because when we said to each other we were going to do a thing, we did that thing.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much the backbone of our relationship. And that's why I absolutely recommend 100% that people spend some time with Vicky if they want to know a bit more about the ins and outs of what can be achieved. There's so many businesses out there that really could use public sector tendering, not necessarily as the mainstay, but as the bread and butter income for their businesses. And they don't even realize it. I think they often count themselves out because they're either too small or they're too niche or they
don't have the right certifications that everyone tells them that they need to have, and they don't necessarily.
Absolutely. So all I'm saying is I'm no expert on this, but I've spent so much time talking to Vicky around it. All I know is that she does go to the nth degree to make sure that the whole process is as smooth, as reliable, and as predictable as you can be. And I'm proud to say that I've been supporting and will go on supporting Vicky Poole tender response in general terms and also in the specifics. Vicky, any last points to make before we leave these good people to get on with their happy lives?
Their happy lives indeed. Well, it's wonderful to be one, and I think I'm going to be here until at least two, hopefully after, which would be amazing. But remember, when you're celebrating in public sector, the client needs to be in full agreement. You can't go sharing out social media posts, anything tagged to your website. It all has to be agreed in writing in advance. And yes, your client is going to ask you to have a copy of the content, because they need to send it through their own agencies.
Their own channels. Absolutely.
So it can take 3 to 4 weeks to get an announcement through. You can't even say tender response has been awarded the preferred supplier for X. You can't say that. There's no promotion whatsoever. So remember, you can celebrate on the inside, but outside your company, you need to be very stoic until you're allowed to be able to share.
Absolutely. So look, guys, we talk every week. We normally cover topics often to do with public sector tendering, occasionally to do with other things. If you guys enjoyed this, please do watch again. We tend to be every Wednesday in the afternoon. Please do check it out. All you've got to do is follow Vicky or follow me, and you'll get the warning as soon as we're about to go live. And obviously, we would love feedback. please do that. If you come across us while networking or otherwise, do mention if you like the show. And if you do come across anything you'd like to talk about, or dare I say it, that you absolutely disagree with, please tell us about that too. All information is useful, and I cannot thank you all enough for having stayed with us so far on this journey. So until the next time we see you or you see us, we wish you all a wonderful rest of the week, hump day that it is, and of course, fabulous mental health. Goodbye.